My name is Melissa Jakes, and I'm super excited to be here today because we're going to talk about how to refresh, renew, and restore. We're learning about how Chinese medicine can best help maximize your new year. And I know it's not January 1, but it is February 1, where it is the new Chinese year. And I am all about holistic learning, holistic everything, right? So today, we're going to have the amazing Dr. Sarah Lemmy of Eastern Roots Wellness Acupuncture and Traditional Chinese Medicine Clinic. Okay, and she's going to talk to us about the year of the water tiger. That is, again, in Chinese New Year's, there's always a new animal and element that comes together. So she's going to break us down on that. And so I am excited to bring on Dr. Sarah. Hey.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for having me. For everyone who's watching, thanks for joining us tonight. Happy Lunar New Year.
Yes, happy. I'm super excited. I have some little treats for the family in the back, so I'm excited about eating those too. And I know you're going to get into that.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I'm dolled up. I actually made sure to put a new shirt on for tonight. But again, that is something we're going to get back into a little bit later. But I think what we should kind of talk about is maybe break down what the Lunar New Year is, and so people can kind of understand, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know last year was about the metal ox, right?
Right. So each year, the Lunar New Year goes through one of 12 auspicious animals. Auspicious meaning that it brings good luck if you kind of utilize it, wear it, that sort of thing. So there's a fun story that said how the Chinese started keeping track of the passage of time. Was that they started naming each year after a different animal. And then once we went through the 12 animals, that cycle would repeat again. It was said that there was this race and that these 12 these are the first 12 animals that kind of crossed the finish line. The first being the rat, the second being the ox. And we were in the year of the ox last year. So number 3, the tiger, we're in the year of the tiger this year. I think the last time we were in the year of the tiger was 2010. But again, and then not only do we have this cycling of the animals, we also have this cycling of what are known as the 5 elements. All right. So we've got the water, the wood, the fire, the earth, and the metal. And so like last year was the year of the ox, right? It was also the metal ox. So just like the tiger comes after the ox, water comes after the metal.
And I know, last year with being the ox, tell us about all the elements and what goes with the ox. And I know 2021, some people are like, it was kind of like a repeat of 2020. You got me a little bit. So tell us what the year of the ox meant and recap for us.
Absolutely. So the year of the metal ox, and this is something we've kind of talked about before last year. Mm-hmm. So that the ox, as well as the element, the metal element, they're both yin in terms of like Chinese medicine and culture. So that means yin is more downwards, more inwards, right? Kind of heavier, darker, that sort of thing. Again, not bad. It's just that, again, it's more inwards. And if we think about the last few years, I mean, the pandemic has literally kept everyone inside. Yeah. And so for being prosperous last year, it was kind of about keeping our head down and planning, focusing, kind of, trying to figure out where we want it to go, so that when the next yang year came around, we'd finally be able to go through with it. And again, I think if you think about how your year was, it probably wasn't a lot of expansiveness, probably not a lot of traveling. It was probably more like continuing to decide how you were pivoting, that sort of thing. Maybe some new ventures out, but still it was really about being more inward. And so I know also a lot of us tend to get bored, right? Especially if we're more yang in character. Yeah. But that's what's so great about this year. This year welcomes back a yang year, because this year is the year of the yang water tiger. While water is yin, it can also be yang, but the tiger itself is yang, right?
Yeah.
So again, if we think about it, let's first think about the water. The water can be yin, like very passive and quiet. Think about a stream, right? Or a pond, something like that. It's very reflective. It's renewing. It's refreshing, right? But it can also be very yang. Think about the powerful, or like the power of the ocean or the tsunamis, that sort of thing. So it can also be very strong. And so when you pair that with the tiger, right, who can be very playful, But the tiger, all about bravery and honor, but it can also be rambunctious, ambitious, right? Very extroverted and outward. And it's like, I'm ready to go, right? Ready to break free. Then you get these kind of amazing qualities that we're going to start to see this year.
I love that. I'm hearing a lot of characteristics. So tell us, how can we utilize these characteristics of the water tiger into our new year?
Absolutely. So just like we kind of said before, so before we go into what we can do, like in general for exactly for this year, we've got to know how we can kind of utilize the characteristics of the water and the tiger. So again, to embrace the qualities of the water tiger, in the past we've been hibernating. So now's the time to really go after our goals. Hopefully last year we've kind of been planning what it is we want to do, what we want, what we've put down on paper, what it is. Take that luck, that inspiration, and this is the year to be bold, right? It's the year of luck restored, as some feng shui experts has called it. So again, take calculated but not rash risk. So again, we want that bravery of the tiger, but we don't want to be too rash or rambunctious.
Right.
It's also about renewal and transformation. So like the tiger, know your prey, your goal, be organized and focused. Taking last year's metal energy, stay flexible and inspired like the water. The water always is able to go around its obstacles. It's able to adapt and go for it. Kind of the yang element of the tiger. So again, 2020 is about the year that, you need to go for the goals that you've been thinking about. Here's some things in particular to look out for. Opportunities, okay? Especially at a time when many of your competitors may be frightened or weakened. Are there openings that you can kind of exploit? Tigers are courageous. Team building. We're currently in the most significant shift in the workplace in our lifetime. We've got the rise of remote work, labor shortages, early retirement. So it's a time for thinking about your team and how you want to motivate them and retain them. Again, it's also looks like it's going to be a big year for technology innovation. Again, new product development. Again, because these past 4 years we've been at home, right? We've been we've been kind of squirreled away thinking about things, and I think we're going to see a lot of new innovation in the technology field. The only thing I would say, also we're going to see a lot of equity and justice. We're going to see more people coming out asking for reform, for fairness, that sort of thing. So if you can think about bringing more fairness and equity into your life, the only thing I would say is be careful of impulsiveness, especially when it comes to big scale things or like the acquisition of real estate. Basically, you just want to make sure you've planned what you're going to do. And some other things I want to say too, is with the water, right? In the tiger, again, it can be really great for innovation, reflection, putting it into action. But we just want to make sure that it doesn't get too hectic, too chaotic. And I think we've actually already seen some of this in the beginning of 2022, at least in the Western New Year. If you look at some of the natural disasters we've already had with earthquakes and tsunamis, but also when you think about impulsiveness and kind of just contention politically, right? You think about like that whole Ukraine-Russian thing going on. So again, if we can be kind of reflective and harmonious and kind of compassionate, like when the tiger and the water are in balance, and I think things will be good.
I love that. To me, it sounds like be bold and be out there, but don't be dumb about it. Don't, be cautious of it, like the tiger can go raw, but be cautious of your raw. So I love that. So how do we maximize these amazing characteristics of the water tiger into our life?
Absolutely. So both for the year of the water tiger, but for the Lunar New Year, every year, there are a couple of things we can do regardless. So one of the things that we love when it comes to the Lunar New Year is the use of colors, both on our bodies and our homes, that sort of thing. Again, red is always an auspicious, our lucky color. But for this year in particular, you can also use blue, the color of the water, green, again, red and yellow. So those 4 colors, blue, green, red, or yellow. And yellow to me is more like a gold yellow, again, to kind of symbolize prosperity. Blue with the water element. It's also going to be great to utilize for negotiations, job interviews, communication. Green to adapt to a new job, a new place to live, or new start in general. Red for prosperity, but also for romantic meetings. This is also supposed to be a good year for relationships, just FYI. That's what I've heard. And then yellow or gold for the acquisition of real estate or transmission of wealth. And then again, food is such a huge part of the Asian culture, and during the Lunar New Year, which is like, like a 14-day festival, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple of lucky foods we say that you want to eat during the Chinese New Year, including tonight. Number ones are going to be dumplings. Dumplings, first of all, I think they're fantastic.
That's what I have downstairs.
Yes. There's associated with wealth. Basically, according to tradition, the more dumplings you can eat, the more wealth you're going to make in the new year. Hey, you know what kind of gives us a reason to indulge, right?
It does. Lots of carbs, but
we've got to get ready for the new year, right? Apparently, we're going to be active and getting out there again. So you know what? Yeah. It's time to indulge. Number 2, spring rolls. Again, this is great to eat during the Lunar New Year, which is also in some traditions referred to as the Spring Festival, because again, it's the end of winter transitioning into spring, right? There's no particular rules when it comes to it. It's just that spring rolls, they say it's like a brick of gold, right? That's kind of what they say it looks like. So again, it's a carrier of prosperity. We also have like a sticky rice that has sugar, chestnuts, dates, and lotus leaves. Some yan gao, basically they say it just means a general improvement in life. Then we have sweet rice balls. These are like a staple of Chinese celebrations. Yeah. And then their rounded shape is associated with reunion, being together. Because again, the Chinese New Year, a lot of businesses will take off, like myself. So patients keep that in mind. Because, it's about being with family, right?
Yeah.
Finally, we have something called noodles, longevity noodles. Basically, they really are longer than the average noodles. It's just, longer, more prosperous life.
Yep.
So finally, we also have feng shui, which is its own little way of being and decorating, putting things in the house, the office, that sort of thing. We won't really get into, but I can tell you this, to maximize your luck for the new year. This year is really a focus on career. So you want, again, those blues, those blacks, those whites, those metals, kind of mirrors, those things that are kind of have a reflection to them, like water. You bring that into your house, particularly the bathroom, and then the foyer or the front area, which are associated with the water. And again, I think that's going to be really good for helping a prosperous new year, particularly when it comes to careers.
I love it. All of that. And I'm so big into feng shui. So I love that you mentioned the hints of blues, and it's like the entryways of the bathroom where you're cleaning and that water element is getting in. Oh, I'm super excited for you to go more into of course, acupuncture and acupressure. Mm-hmm. And so I want you to take us all the way of how we can maximize our health, because that's what's also important. If we're not healthy, we can't do all these fun things and travel and be the year of the water tiger. So talk to us about how we can maximize our health.
Absolutely. So as we've already mentioned, so this is the year of the yang, or the active water tiger, right? So it's about going out and really accomplishing your goals and finally being back out again in society. But in order to do that, just like Melissa said, we've got to take this time that we have remaining in the winter to make sure that we are healthy come spring and summer, which are the more outward months anyways. And so, yes, we're still in winter, but what's really great is that water in Chinese medicine is associated with the season of winter. So again, the water element in Chinese medicine is associated with winter. So by helping with the organs or the parts of your bodies that are correlated or correspond to the winter, you're really going to help to make yourself healthy physically and mentally, so that come the winter, you're really going to be able to get the most out of your year. In particular, when it comes to the winter, we have the yin and yang organ pairing of the kidney and the bladder. But tonight I want to focus on the kidney, because when it really comes down to it, the kidneys are the powerhouse of our body. And without them, we're depleted. The kidneys are our energy source. They're the source of life. And so I kind of want to walk you through kind of what the kidneys help us with. All right. So in Chinese medicine, the kidneys, yes, they help filtrate toxins and to excrete, right? Just like they do in Western medicine. But the kidneys in Chinese medicine are responsible for a few more things. And I think when we go through these, you're going to see why it's so important to nourish them like the remaining winter months, okay? So in Chinese medicine, we say that the kidneys store the essence, which is basically that which we got from our parents. So think about your genetics, your DNA, right? But they also store what we call the postnatal essence. So everything that we take in from the outside, the air, the food, the water, right? And then we say that they also govern the stages of life. So birth, maturation, reproduction, and then death or decline, okay? We say the kidneys also produce marrow, which we know is really important for bone formation. So that we say that the kidneys control our bone health. So think of someone who has osteoporosis or brittle bones. They really got to focus on nourishing those kidneys. But the marrow also then goes to the development of the brain, kind of important. The kidney, or at least in Chinese medicine, also govern water. Again, that filtration responsibility, right? They open into the ears. So again, the kidneys are really about listening. But again, when we talked about earlier, water, it's about being observant, taking in, reflective, right? So that we don't make those rash decisions this coming year. The kidneys open into the hair on our head. So that kind of tells us the state of the kidneys. If we have thinning, prematurely graying hair, we have a deficiency in the kidneys. Finally, obviously it controls the two lower orifices. The kidneys also house the je, the willpower, the motivation, which I know a lot of us feel like we're kind of lacking, especially in the winter months. But again, we nourish the kidneys. That motivation is going to come roaring back the start of the spring. Finally, we say that the kidneys to control the gate of life. Yang, it kind of activates everything in our body. But if we think about the kidneys and our kind of mid to low back, on the front of our bodies, we have our belly button, right? Where the umbilical cord was. Again, the kidneys really, they're one of the most important organs, at least in my opinion. And they're going to get us through the winter into the spring. So we can really do everything we can to maximize this year. So again, how can we nourish the kidneys? Because I've been talking about this, where there's a couple of different ways. One of them is through dietary recommendations or different ways of eating. So one is color association. As I told you earlier, the water is associated with the color black. So if you incorporate more black foods, but this also includes like dark blue, green, purple foods as well. That's really going to help to nourish the kidneys. So some of these foods are going to be like black sesame seeds, a lot of legumes or beans, lentils, or sorts of things, dark leafy greens, think spinach, even kelp, seaweed. Some of these things are going to be really great for nourishing the kidneys. And even like the darker berries, like the blackberries, the mulberries, the raspberries are really good for kidney health. We also have taste association. So with each element, I should go back and say there's like a color, a taste, a climate, those sorts of things. So the taste associated with the kidneys or the water is that of salt. So if we think about the seaweed or the kelp again, but if you also throw in a little Himalayan sea salt or a little Celtic sea salt, you're going to have that salt for the kidneys. But again, moderation here, right? Always tailor it to you. So climate association. So we have winter for the water and the kidneys. So what you want in the winter months, you want to have more warming, nourishing food. So think stews, soups, even casseroles, okay? We want to increase those, and we want to stay away from like raw cold foods. So like lots of raw salads, lots of juices, smoothies, those sorts of things. Those are fantastic and can have lots of nutrition, but the summer is usually the best time for those. Then we have something called the law of signature foods. If it looks like something, eat it. So in terms of the kidneys, kidney beans, right? Legumes, lentils, those are one of the best things you can do for your kidneys. But also, as we mentioned earlier, the kidneys help produce the marrow, which goes to the brain. So foods that kind of look like the brain are going to be really good. Also for cognitive function, just FYI. So walnuts, like broccoli, cauliflower, some other cruciferous vegetables. Finally, elemental associations. Again, always going back to that water for the rest of the winter. And this is more so hydration versus the actual food. I know a lot of us don't think about hydration in the winter as much as we do in summer, but guess what? The winter is often really dry. It's like sucking out our moisture. So we need that hydration for our kidneys so they can continue to filtrate and filter, but also for our skin, guys, right? It gets really dry. Make sure you hydrate, preferably purified water, alkalized water, or organic herbal teas, which is something I love to talk about. So you can always reach out to me for that. But outside of diet, there are some lifestyle tips. One, okay, so I know that I talked about this being a young year, guys, and I promise you it is going to be a very active, outgoing year where we're going to be moving forward with things, hopefully communicating more, getting out there more. But we're still in the winter. We're still catching up on a lot of stress. So I want us to really utilize the rest of the winter to take this time to rest, to go inward. Again, the water can be and is the most yin element of the 5 elements. So go inward, rest. It's not a bad thing if you have to rest, okay? Especially since we just, again, have the holidays. We had a new variant pop up, that sort of thing. So excessive physical exertion. carrying heavy loads or standing for long periods of time can put undue stress on your kidneys. Think about when you're standing all day, your lower back starts to hurt, right? That's exactly where your kidneys are. Your body's saying, hey, we need to rest more. So do that, slow down. 2, take this time to be reflective, right? In order not to be rash, not to be kind of in contention with anyone this year, we need to take the time now to be reflective. What is it that we do? What is it that we want? What is it that we learned for these past 2 years that we can implement moving forward? Some ways to do this is through meditation, journaling, even breathing exercises. It's really amazing what will come to us through that. Another thing we need to do that's really important is stay warm, right? Obviously, winter, it tends to be cold, even though I know it's going to be in the 50s, at least where I am next week. In particular, we need to keep the lower back, the feet, and the neck warm. Again, your kidneys are in the lower back, right? So in Chinese medicine, they're considered to be sensitive to the cold, so keep them well wrapped up on cold days. Sometimes if you've had a really hard or long day, putting a heating pad on it can feel really good. It also gets that circulation going. As for your feet, we say the kidney meridian starts on the bottom of the foot. So keep socks on. I know some of you, particularly you ladies, you don't keep socks on in the house, but you need to, especially if you have wooden floors. We don't want that cold getting in through your feet. And then I also like people to wear a scarf to cover their necks in the winter. Just because, again, think about when we first kind of feel sick, we tend to get a lot of aches and pains in the neck. Finally, engage in flowing exercise as well. So the winter in the water is not about that contracting, high interval sort of activities. It is about flowing, or what I call soft style exercises. So Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, right? Even walking or stretching. These are going to keep our limbs nice and limber, right? So that when it is time to let the hair down and walk outside come spring, we're ready to go. All right, guys. And what I also like about all of these things, you're also going to turn on what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is also going to be activated if we do what's called acupressure. So yes, as Melissa said earlier, I'm an acupuncturist, but just like the last things I told you, these are some things you can do at home, because I know not everyone might be able to come see me, and I know not everyone might be able to see, I just get to an acupuncturist in general. So acupressure, basically acupressure is when you have an acupuncture point, so that's a specific point on the body, and you kind of do a firm but gentle pressure on it for a couple of minutes. Sometimes you do a gentle push. Some people like to do small circles, all right? It's whatever feels the most comfortable to you. So one that I like for people to do at home during the winter is what's called kidney 1. So again, going back to the feet, the bottom of the foot, right by the ball of the foot, kind of between like the first and the second toe. And again, you can Google all of these points yourself. If you push down on that for a few minutes, you're going to activate the kidney meridian, right? And that's going to be really good when you're feeling kind of lethargic, like you're feeling like you don't have that motivation. You've got like a heavy low back, that sort of thing. It's going to kind of help lift everything up, okay? Kidney 3, this one we're moving up a little bit. This one's going to be on the inner ankles. It's going to be right behind what we call the inner or the medial malleolus bone. It looks like there's like a little circle on our inner and outer ankle. There's the inner one. So between that and the Achilles tendon, we have what's called kidney 3. We push on that. This is the source point for the kidneys. Anything going on with the kidneys or anything that they govern according to Chinese medicine, so bones, reproduction, adrenals, energy, sleep, right, brain, that's going to be helped or stimulated by pressing on kidney 3. Finally, moving all the way up to the ears, the ear lobes. We say that the ear lobes are like the brain in Chinese medicine. So again, the kidneys help or have a direct connection to the brain, okay? So by rubbing on the earlobes, you can really help to stimulate the brain, the cognitive function. But again, like kidney 1, it also helps to give you a little bit of energy, okay? And then something else we can do, if you really want to get kind of adventurous, is the use of what's called moxibustion. It's another tool, and you can use that in conjunction with acupressure or acupuncture points. So moxibustion, usually we take an herb like mugwort, we heat it up, we burn it, it starts smoking. It's very warm. It usually has like a really good smell. It has a medicinal property. We hold it over a particular point. For example, you could hold it over, say my hand was my foot. You could hold it over that point on the bottom of your foot. You circle it around so it gets hot, you remove it, do it again a couple more times. And this is another way of kind of doing acupressure, but with an herb, and it kind of adds a little bit more oomph to it, right? And since it's kind of lit, it has a very warming, tonifying, nourishing quality. And again, when it comes to the kidneys, with the water element, that sort of thing, it's all about nourishing. So again, come spring and summer, we are healthy, we are vital, we are ready to jump out there and roar. All right. So those are some things we can do for the year of the water tiger, or getting ready for it. So in conclusion, some of the things I talked about, I think that are most relevant. Some feng shui tips for the year of the water tiger. Be really cognizant of some of the colors you use. So again, we want those blues, those reds, those greens, and those yellows or golds. Those are very fantastic, particularly if you're looking to move forward or do something different with your career. And again, I think it's going to be a great year for careers anyways. Again, but be cognizant, have a plan, don't be rash, okay? And then to get us moving forward, we really want to make sure that our health is as optimized as it can be, right? It's been kind of a crazy year for health. So again, make sure we nourish the kidneys. We have the diet, we have the hydration, we have the lifestyle tips, some acupressure if you can't get in to see me. All right. And I think with that said, I think this is going to be an amazing year. Hey, Melissa.
Absolutely. All of it. I'm super excited about it. I'm so glad. There are a couple of things I just want to for people to really to remember and tips is the socks. How many times you do not wear socks on with your hardwood floors? I know we are so into hardwood floors. Some people love it, but you got to put the socks on. And so when you said that, I was like, I have socks on right now. Yes.
I do too. And I know some people really don't like it when they're walking around the house, and some people don't like to have socks on when they go to bed. But you know what? Change your bedding, put the thermostat so that you can wear those darn socks. Because what do you do first thing you get up in the morning? You put your feet on the ground. Yeah. And some of you, when you do that, you're like, oh, that's cold, or oh, you feel kind of like nerve, like this little nerve spasm. Put your socks on.
Yes, I love it. And I just loved about nourishing the kidneys is so important. You know, I sometimes suffer with getting flakiness around up here, and I know that's because I'm not drinking my water enough and all of that stuff. And so your skin is like that first defense, especially in our area where it gets cold quickly and we fluctuate in weather. So definitely making sure we are nourishing our kidneys and so they can work for us and do what we need them to do.
Absolutely. And like I like to say, think of the kidneys. This might actually make more sense. Think of the kidneys as like your gas tank.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why it's really important. Like this past year, we've pretty much used up all of our gas. We've been running on like steam for a while, right? So think of your kidneys as your gas tank, and it's like, okay, in order to really have that prosperous new year that we're looking to, you've got to refuel your gas, right? Yes, it might cost money, or in this case, time and little tweaks in habits. Well, we got to really make sure we're running on a full tank of gas.
Absolutely. I can't wait till you talk about this special offer that people need to make sure they get.
Absolutely, guys. So because it is the Lunar New Year, but it's also my birthday, I'm feeling particularly generous. Yay. So my special offer is, so if you come in and pay for an acupuncture appointment for the next, I think over a week, actually, I'm doing it. You're going to get 15% off both acupuncture or cosmetic acupuncture appointment. Those are both eligible for that 15% off. And you're also going to be sent home with an at-home COVID test kit. Again, whether you're a new patient or you're a returning patient, if you mention this video, Year of the Tiger, anytime between tomorrow, February 2nd, up to February 11th. So guys, I'm giving you about 9-10 days. Not only are you going to get 15% off your next acupuncture or cosmetic acupuncture appointment, you're also going to get sent home with a COVID test. Woohoo! I know that's really exciting.
No, you know how hard it was to try to find some? Okay, that was the biggest thing. So if you can have them at home as we're trying to get out of this COVID season, for sure.
Exactly. And then for all of you patients who might already have an appointment this coming up week, you're absolutely eligible to do this as well. But you do have to mention the Year of the Tiger. You've got to have been watching this video to the very end. All right. So with that, again, happy Lunar New Year. Any last words?
I feel going through this, I feel refreshed, renewed, and restored. I know how to make sure my Chinese Lunar New Year is going to be refreshing, restoring, and just renewal. So I'm excited for the new year.
Yeah, me too. And I know we've already kind of started out with a bang, but again, that's like the water tiger dynamic. right? So like I said, if we go about it the right way, I'm really excited to see what the year has in store for us.
Absolutely. I hope you guys make sure you follow Dr. Sarah, and she's amazing. And not only because she's a friend, but really she has a very, very wealth of knowledge. And it's about health. We want to be holistic versus putting medicine in us. Why can't we work about fixing our own selves holistically? So I can't wait to see you guys. Make sure you get your special offer from Dr. Sarah.